Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to this week's segment of The Voice of the Educator. Join us today as we sit down with one of our local educators, Miss Candace Richards. Won't you join us? Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, I'm really glad to be here. Feel free to join in on this riveting discussion of ideologies in the learning environment. Please introduce yourself for the viewers this evening. My name is Candace Richards and I am a music educator. Welcome, Miss Candace Richards. Yes, I'm really glad to be here. Please tell us what you do and how you do it. So first things first, I teach choir. Before I can teach students how to sing, I have to teach them the theory behind it. Now, music is so expressive, it's so passionate, it's so full of life and impactful, but it's also mathematical and precise and exact. So because music has two different character traits, it takes a specific type of teaching style, personality, and learning strategies to effectively teach students. Well, how long have you been teaching, and what would you say is your ideal ideology? I have been teaching for a year now, and I can say that I am a mixture of the learner-centered, scholar academic, and social efficiency ideologies. Interesting. Most people are usually a mixture of a couple. I see that you have three. Well, can you tell us a little bit of what you believe the school environment should be? Well, I believe that school environments should be conducive to helping students grow and learn at their own paces, especially when it comes to music. I attended 3 performing arts schools, elementary, middle, and high school. And at the elementary level, I was introduced to drama, dance, orchestra, piano, band, 3D, and 2D art, while focusing on foreign languages and all other core subjects. At such a young age, I was able to choose a major and a minor, as if I was in college. This allowed me to be introduced to all the possible art forms, and I was allowed to choose which one I liked the most. Wow, so much wealth of knowledge for such a young person. I believe that allowing students to choose the subject they are most interested in is only applicable when introduced. My whole theory on education is the way subjects are introduced and taught. I agree. So why don't you tell us some of the ways you can implement those practices into your classroom? Well, for example, my teachers were vibrant and vivacious. They were masters at their craft first, and then they were teachers second. I was always so in awe of how talented they were, how they made me feel, and how their emotion gleamed through their performances. I actually strive to be like that now in my teaching days. I can tell. For example, I greet all my students at the door with a smile. I am extremely expressive and well-versed in whatever the topic. I believe it makes a difference for my students because it allows them to see the passion that I have for it. And inevitably, it rubs off on them. So what do you think helps students grasp concepts more effectively? I believe that when students enjoy what they do, they are more likely to grasp concepts and grow exponentially beyond our expectations. This belief of mine strongly agrees with the learner-centered ideology. And if every teacher implements characteristics of this ideology, then our schools would be more efficient in teaching our students. Can you tell us a little bit about your strong ties to the scholar academic ideology? What makes it important to you? Well, I think the most important piece of information I take from it is the idea that teachers should be mini scholars. To be honest, I believe that a lot of teachers today are not completely thorough on the information that they teach. We have an essential problem when teachers have to rely on the text to introduce and teach a subject. I have viewed from first-hand knowledge that it denies the student of the very essence of the spirit of learning when they are deduced to lectures from a boring book. Interesting. Can you expand? Well, I am constantly reading up on my subject of interest. Like, I love music, so I am always reading articles, attending concerts, I attend classes, I do workshops, I do conferences with various music organizations. I take my students on field trips to see other great choirs. I'm always trying to stay current and up to date on the choral music world so that I can be the most effective teacher for my students. When teachers know a subject well, it allows them to add the extra bit of personality and the je ne sais quoi to enhance the learning environment. I agree. Well, thank you for that. So you mentioned 2 other ideologies, but you also said that you agree with 3, or you have a mixture of all 3. Tell us a little bit more about that. Well, I think I have to say the one I most agree with has to be the social efficiency ideology. Well, for me, it speaks to me more greatly since I started working with lower socioeconomic students. You know, I believe the purpose of school should be about producing a well-functioning member of society. I see too many times when a student graduates high school and can barely read or write correctly. I see too many times students who struggle with time management and financial preparation in their adult lives. I mean, I believe it is our job as educators, as teachers, to produce high-functioning, independent, mature, and contributing members of society. If we expect mediocrity from our students, they will be mediocre adults. I believe our curriculum should have activities where students are graded on the competency and the capabilities of completing the activities presented to them. And I think it needs constant practice and repetition. And as I constantly say to my students, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So what are some ways that you implement this whole ideology in your classroom? Well, I have something that I like to call Let's Have a Talk Tuesday, where my students, we all sit in a circle in the middle of the classroom, like King Arthur and the Knights at the Round Table, and it opens the floor for an open discussion. We talk about anything, especially most things that happen in the media and how it affects the students and how it makes them feel, and more importantly, what could be done to make it better. This arena allows my students to become more aware of the things happening in their world around them. I tell my students that knowledge is power, and when you open your eyes to the injustices happening around you, you can no longer just be a spectator. You have to affect change in some way. In most cases, the situation demands that you do. I create an environment in my class so that everyone can be heard and respected. I feel that when students feel heard, they are more likely to speak up. And when students feel respected by their superiors, they are more likely to respect themselves and want better for themselves, which makes our job of educating them considerably more effective. Well, excellent. Thank you very much, Candace Richards. Thank you so much for this interview, and I look forward to doing another one. Well, folks, you've heard it from the lips herself. This is a local educator who is passionate about teaching. Join us next time on The Voice of the Educator.